What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Flame070 and this is Perspective Gaming here with another video, and today's video is another episode of my Getting Perspective series. And for those of you just tuning in for the first time and don't really understand what Getting Perspective is, this is my video topic discussion series where I break down the topic that's going on in the gaming world, give my thoughts, and hopes to create some kind of conversation. For the most part, the last couple of months when I've been heavily focused on Apex Legends, a lot of my Getting Perspectives have been around Apex Legends, and that's not going to change. But I felt like this time around we needed to talk about something outside of Apex Legends, and that has to do with multi-platform gaming, the console wars, and all that stuff. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about, and I'm going to give my very, very blunt thoughts on the whole Marvel's Avengers Spider-Man controversy that's been going on. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get right to it. So one of the things I like to do in this series is kind of really break down one of the gaming things that have been bothering me and breaking down all angles of it in terms of like facts, what's going on with the situation, and then sprinkling my opinions afterwards. The reason for this is, a lot of times why I pride myself on this channel is really to give the perspective of, the casual gamer, the one who doesn't game that lot, doesn't really care about what pros think, what streamers think, like what person, when you're working 9 to 5, going to school, whatever, like how is news going to be digested from those people? And that's the voice I'm going to try to give out here. So if you guys are not aware, Marvel's, Avengers, the new, game that's coming out for that, all platforms, is in a little bit of a pickle right now, I would say. They are releasing some DLC content that is exclusive to the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and that is the Spider-Man character, or playable character for a while. It's not a cosmetic, it's a playable character, right? And a lot of people on both sides are just like, what? This is for me like one of the biggest anti-gamers, anti-consumer moves possible. Like, oh my god. But let's break down why they're doing this. It seems like, for Marvel's Avengers, Sony has been able to get a deal to be able to use the character that I guess they own now, right? I don't know the total legality of it, but they've been able to make exclusive Spider-Man titles for the PlayStation. So it looks like they managed to sprinkle that into a multi-platform title, so that way they can entice people to, I guess, still purchase a console in this day and age. I'll break down that strategy in a second, but overall, that is the move on a business perspective, why Sony is doing this, and what that's their mentality, which is a very outdated mentality, right? I'm not coming in here saying that exclusives are bad. In my opinion, the exclusives are great. They're very pro gamer, pro consumer, because exclusives allow for competition in the right way. I am for hardware console exclusives, but I am against game content, DLC, game-changing exclusives. For example, I think Destiny, when it was on their exclusive with Bungie and Sony and Activision, like some DLCs exclusively dropped, or some guns or some missions exclusively dropped for the PlayStation only. Some of them were timed, and then Xbox and PC players would cut them afterwards. But there was that kind of exclusive. There, map packs for, I think, Call of Duty at a time as well, that you could only get on a certain console. Titanfall was the same kind of way for the Xbox, right? So it's not just Sony doing this. Xbox and Microsoft have done this in the past as well. But either way, this is just a bad practice, and it stems from an outdated mindset where these exclusive things will sell and bring people gravitate to your platform. And at this point, it just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't make sense. In the era of now that crossplay is really going to be on the forefront of every game, more games are coming out with it. Gamers love and gravitate towards games that have it at launch. This is just a thing of the past, right? You just can't be doing these kind of exclusivity deals on multi-platform titles. And that it's just wrong. It dilutes the game, and you're making other players pay the same price for an inferior product. That's really what it comes down to, and that is the core of the issue. You're making Xbox and PC players pay what, $60 for an inferior product. So what? It could be just a simple character. It could be like a couple missions here and there, but it's something that the devs have to take out of the game, right? That's in the game. They're taking it out and giving it to a certain player base for the same price. So that is where a lot of the issue is. And my issue with this going on, Sony fanboys are out here like praising is like, oh, whatever, it sucks to suck. I'm like, no, this practice leads to really scummy practices down the line, right? This is where we come into that territory where you can allow these publishers and developers to get away with locking whole aspects, game modes of a game to a platform, even though it's already in the code for that system. Then that's just wrong. You shouldn't be allowed to. You shouldn't promote. You shouldn't be for this kind of practice. It does not make sense, right? And that is very different than locking an entire game to a platform. That makes more sense because you're not, you're selling a full product. Well, whoever buys that product obviously understands that this is for this platform only, right? That's what drives these sales, and I think that makes sense. I don't think we should never stop first party exclusives. But when it comes to third parties and multi-platforms, this practice that Marvel is doing, the Avengers game is doing, is just not good, and I'm not supporting it. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, people are complaining even though this game is not really that hype. That has nothing to do with it. The game could be super hyped. People may want to play. This game might be like an indie game. It doesn't matter. Practices like this will have a ripple effect across the board if we let it permutate, right? So I think those kind of jabs and those comments that I've seen on Twitter are just unwarranted. They don't make sense, and it doesn't take away from the actual issue which people are complaining about, which is you're making people pay the same price for an inferior product. And sure, it's just a DLC character. If this was just like the announcement was like, hey, you get a PS4 skin exclusive for Spiderman if you buy on PlayStation, that is fine. Cosmetics, whatever, because again, cosmetics don't affect gameplay, don't affect your experience with the game. So if Xbox PC players can still play Spider-Man but don't get this one cool looking skin, sure, that is acceptable. Kind of annoying, but it is acceptable because you're not removing the core product experience for the gamer. This right here, that's exactly what it's doing. And that is why we need to be very vocal about this. And I'm not sure how well this is going to be received when this game launches, but at the moment, this is just, for one, the title for me is not interesting at all. I could care less. But even more, this just adds to that, that sentiment where why would we support a publisher, a game dev that allows this to happen? And I'm not going to blame the devs of the game because I'm not sure how much control they had about that. It's probably their marketing, their PR, the publisher mostly was responsible for these kinds of actions. But we just can't, going into the next gen, this is just a thing that needs to stop. If you're a multi-platform title, you need to just have all content available for all platforms. Period. That's it. No more of this exclusivity bullshit because it just is anti-consumer and your game is going to suffer for it. I believe that gamers are now more aware or tuned of what is good consumer practice and what is bad consumer practice, and the outrage I've seen, at least for this topic, it seems very warranted, and I think everyone's on the right track in saying that this is wrong. I can't believe people are allowing this and supporting this decision. And to the Sony fanboys, and look, this gen, I rock PlayStation. I'm team PlayStation, but I'm pro gamer, I'm pro consumer, right? And this is just anti-consumer. And I've called Sony out in the past of this nonsense where they still think that these kind of deals will drive hardware sales, when in reality, they already know, they've already proven that their first party software, digital games, or regardless, their first party stuff sells their console, is what makes the brand, right? That's what they got this gen. But Sony still, with this mindset, they throw in these anti-consumer jabs, and it really makes me worried about the next gen. With news that their console, the DualShock 4 controller is not compatible with the PS5 games, that seems a little ridiculous. And for me, one of my biggest things, right, the only thing why I care about my PS4 controller is this thing right here. This has been a game changer for me, which was a first party item that they developed, Sony developed, and I have no information or regards of is this gonna be usable on the DualSense? are they making a PS5 version of this? Like, it doesn't make sense what they're doing in that regard, and it just like it baffles me that people support these kind of decisions, right? Microsoft, yes, they might have lacked a first party exclusive, but they are making it up by building a very comprehensive ecosystem. Their xCloud system looks really promising, and it looks really a step better than, say, Stadia, right? They're I'm not sure if I fully agree with their whole next gen philosophy where next gen games can be played on older consoles. I mean, it's consumer friendly for sure, because at the end of the day, if you're not scrapped for money, you can, maybe invest in the PS5 and then still get your Xbox games on your current, whatever Xbox system that you're playing. That is kind of cool, and probably for me, I'll probably take advantage of that, even though I do have the money to buy both next gen consoles. But who's down to drop, close to $1,000, which I'm estimating, because we still don't know the prices of these consoles yet for both systems. So it's just a matter of like, being smart about what we're doing, what should be exclusive, what should not, and what we need to be aware of. And for me, moving forward, games like this are just automatically off my list. Any game, any publisher that decides and thinks this is okay to lock content, game content, whether it be a character, a map, a mission, whatever it may be, if it's gameplay related, if it's game related, and it's locked behind some kind of exclusivity deal, that's just BS, and I'm not supporting that, and you shouldn't either. But that is just my take on it. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think? And subscribe if you haven't already. I drop weekly videos, mostly Apex Legends content. I'm doing videos on ranked, talking about the upcoming season, all that good stuff. Check the links down below, and I hope to catch you guys in the next video. My name is Flame078, and this is Perspective Gaming. And until next time, adios.